Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tatu Tunjian, and I'm the founder and CEO of Thriving Solutions, and I'll be moderating today's special session. I'm really delighted to welcome you all to this webinar of the Arab Champions 12.3, which is part of the Global Champions 12.3 network. The network brings together all those actors that are working and thriving towards achieving SDG 12.3 of halving food loss, food waste, and reducing food loss. Today's 1-hour session will be recorded, and during the webinar, there will be 2 Q&A sessions. The chat function, as you will notice on the bar, is enabled throughout. So please use it to post any of your questions, and we would come to those during those Q&A sessions. We're delighted to have 3 presenters with us today, leading experts that will join us. We will start the meeting as clear on the agenda. Let me just go to the second slide. We will start the meeting with a presentation by Liz Goodwin, Senior Fellow and Director of Food Loss and Waste at the World Resources Institute. She's also the lead of the Global Coalition for Food is Never Waste. During her session, Liz will present the state of Target 12.3. Next, we will have Dima Maroun, Partner and Chief Sustainability Officer at Thriving Solution, and she will present our latest 2 initiatives. First one is launching the formal platform that brings together all professionals and organizations working on food loss and waste in the Arab region. And this would be followed by launching of the platform to gather success stories from the region and future plans on how to utilize these success stories. Last but not least, we are really honored to have Dr. Haytham Riahi with us, founder of Circa Biotech, who will present the inspiring case study of Circa Biotech, one of the innovative case studies in our region for valorizing food waste into products that not only address food loss and waste, but it also advances sustainable and circular food systems. With this, I'd like to hand it over to Liz. Please, Liz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Seta, and thank you, Dima and Seta, for the invitation to talk to you today. Can I just check everyone can see my slides?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So yes, thank you very much for the invitation to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you about the state of progress on achieving SDG 12.3. Every year, Champions produces an annual progress report, which looks at whether the world is making progress towards achieving SDG 12.3. And I think it's important that we remember that we're talking about 2030 being the deadline to halve food loss and waste. I get slides to move on, which I don't seem to be able to do at the moment. There you go. So the headline is that we're not on track to achieve SDG 12.3 unless there is an immediate prioritization, unless we make a step change in progress. So it's a pretty gloomy message. You know, we're only 6 years away, and there is no way we're going to achieve it unless we do something radically different. But despite that gloomy message, I think there are some positive signs out there. So, for example, if we look at businesses, there are a number of businesses who have actually started to make some really good progress. And these companies on this slide are all part of our Champions 12.3 10 by 20 by 30 initiative. That's where you get 10 big organizations to work with 20 of their supply chains companies to try to adopt the Target Measure Act approach. And if you set a target, it sets your ambition. If you then start to measure, it tells you where your hotspots are. And that then leads to action. And of course, if you've got 10 companies all working with 20 suppliers, you've immediately got 200 organizations trying to reduce food waste. But then some of those 20 have also engaged 20 of their suppliers. So you can see you get a big increase in momentum and more progress being made. So this is just an example of, of eight, 9 companies. And there are many more who are not part of the initiative who are making progress. And mostly they're doing it because they start measuring, and that tells them where their problems are, and then they can take action. But frankly, we're in 2024, and we should have lots of companies who've achieved a 50% reduction by now, and it's still really only a handful. So it's not enough. We're not doing enough, and it's not fast enough. Businesses is one side of the story. If we look at government progress, there's also still only limited progress being made by governments. We haven't done a deep assessment of government progress, but we did one last year, and it suggested that around 40% of the global population was living in the country where the government took it seriously. And what I meant by seriously is that they were doing things at scale. So still only half of the global population lives somewhere where there's a lot of activity happening. And I'm sure you can all think of your own countries as to whether or not enough is happening. There are a few interesting positives, though, in the last year. In the USA, for example, last June, the Biden-Harris administration published its national strategy to reduce food loss and waste and to recycle organics, which will really help increase focus in the USA, which is sorely needed because they've got a lot of food loss and waste problems. In India, the union budget in 2024-25 set a target to enhance agriculture infrastructure capacity, so that's dry and cold storage, and reduce post-harvest losses and food waste by 4% in food grains and 10% in horticulture. And in Kenya, the Kenyan government, together with FAO and local stakeholders, has launched its first post-harvest management strategy, which is intended to help increase the focus on post-harvest losses and to drive those losses down. So there are some examples of some countries doing things which is good. But if we come back to the overall conclusion of the report, we're basically not doing enough, and it's not fast enough. We need more businesses to set targets, to measure, and then to take action. We need governments to understand where their problems are in their countries and then take action. Put it in your NDC and then take action. And we need more financing organisations and philanthropy organisations to start to invest in the more than $300 million of worth of investments that are ready to go, which were identified by some work on a philanthropy roadmap last year. So there's a lot of investments out there that are ready to go, but we can't find anybody to invest in them. I think it's quite interesting to just look at why some of the underlying causes for people not doing more and not acting fast enough. I put them in 3 areas. Firstly, it's hard, but firstly, there's a lack of awareness and a lack of understanding of the importance of it. We've got to engage millions of companies, millions of people in businesses, in governments, in other organisations. So that's a lot of people who've got to understand the size of the issue and take action. We need far more collaboration because a lot of the issues are cross-cutting. Decisions made one place in the supply chain have impacts elsewhere. So we need far more communication, collaboration, and information sharing. And then the third area is resistance. We've got to overcome a lot of resistance, whether that's obvious, overt resistance, or the sort of more hidden, difficult to see resistance of finding excuses, asking lots of questions, finding things that are more important, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the, I think the blockers that are stopping us happening. But I think if we just think a little bit about the impact that we can all have, and I know that everybody on this call cares about food loss and waste. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. We can all make a difference. We can make sure our organisations are doing something. Our governments are doing something. I think everybody probably knows about the great phrase about drops in the ocean, and everybody can make a difference. A drop in the ocean is tiny, but the ocean is made up of many drops. If I can build on that a little bit. And mine, sorry, that's just a picture of the report. So find out more about them from the report. That'd be fantastic. It's just on the Champions 12.3 website, and I've checked with Dima whether or not you've got a link on your Arab Friends of Champions Network website. But my party thought really would be to, if you think about what role you as an individual in your organization can have, if you just get on, if everybody on this call just gets on and does something, we all know, if we're honest, we all know about a hotspot in our own business, our government, or our country, or even in our own home life. We know about some issue of where food waste or food loss occurs. If we all just got on and sorted those problems out without just talking about it all the time, and we talked to 10 other people and persuade them to do the same thing, i.e. to get on and sort out a problem and talk to 10 other people, you start to get an amazing multiplier effect. And within 10 steps, you've actually reached the entire global population. So if I talk to 10 people and they talk to 10, within 10 steps, you've reached everybody in the world. So actually, it is possible to make progress if we put our minds to it, get on and do something, and we can make a difference. So I'll leave you with that, but I'm happy to take any questions when we get to the Q&A.
Liz, there is one question on your last slide, which is the slide on companies that have reduced food loss and waste by 20%. Maybe we can have this question now, since this slide is fresh in everyone's mind, and it's a specific question. And the question is, it's just, sorry, opening. And it's if you have any information about the volume of that waste that has been saved. Or, the volume
no,
or value.
The volume or value? No, I don't. Those companies will have that information. There is data because they all report their figures back to us, but I don't personally have it. But yeah, I did ask if we might be able to actually convert that into a greenhouse gas emission saving. That's too difficult because the different types of waste. But each of those companies will have worked out what the volume was and what the value was. And it is still true that every single company in 10 by 20 by 30, there is a clear financial business case. They are saving money by reducing their food loss and waste. It's still true that we produced a report a number of years ago, which suggested that there was a 14-to-1 return on investment on the average case. So I think there is a very strong business case.
Thank you, Liz. Now we would hand the floor to Dima Maroun, to give us a presentation of the latest 2 functions under Arab Champions.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited to be here. I'm excited about all these new updates that we have on the Friends of Champions 12.3 Arab Region Network website, and to share with you what our vision for the future of this network is. As Seta mentioned earlier, my name is Dima Maroun. I am an environmental scientist and partner with Thriving Solutions. Just to give you a bit about my background, I've been working in the environment and sustainability field for over 20 years now, and my past experience has been in environmental impact assessments, circular food system transformations, capacity building, and stakeholder engagement. Seta basically already gave you the quick rundown of how we are set up as Arab Friends of Champions 12.3. We are part of a larger network, as she said, which is the Champions 12.3. Up to this date, the regional network was set up originally in collaboration with RAP through FCDO funding earlier this year. And since then, Thriving Solutions has been the sole secretariat of the regional network. Our objectives for the network are simple. We first aim to increase public awareness on a regional level. Many people in the region are unaware of the scale of food loss or waste, especially its implications on the environment and society and the economic impacts. So by raising awareness, we hope to inspire individuals, businesses, and governments to take meaningful action. Secondly, we are focused on building capacity also in the region, meaning that in order to achieve target 12.3, we need new skills, we need knowledge, and we need infrastructure to empower these stakeholders. And how do we do that? We want to provide the right tools and expertise needed to make these changes. We also aim to make resources applicable to the region available and accessible. This includes sharing best practices, case studies, and research that are tailored to the unique challenges and opportunities in the Arab region. And finally, we're committed to identifying existing gaps in policies, data, skills, and other areas, and pushing for these to have targeted interventions. We know that these are ambitious objectives and we cannot achieve them alone. And that's why we believe that these objectives can only be achieved through collaboration, empowerment, and building relationships amongst all stakeholders. This is the basis of the regional network, and the work that we have done to date builds on this. So the Arab Champions 12.3 information is hosted under the Thriving Solutions webpage. You can log into the website under www.thrivingsolutions.earth. The Champions information, as well as all other information on the website, is available in both Arabic and English. Okay. So I won't be going through all the features of our page. You can look through them at your convenience, but I do want to show you some of the new forms and the templates that we have uploaded. So the first one is Become a Champion. As you can see, it's both in the Arabic and the English pages. Here you have two forms. One is for organizations and one is individuals. The forms will help us gather essential information about the champions in the Arab region who are working towards SDG 12.3. Like I said, these forms are available also in Arabic. The screenshots are only in English here. This will help us build a comprehensive network of individuals and organizations dedicated to reducing food loss and waste in the region. And the information will be reviewed by us before it's accepted and added to a registry. Okay. As we look ahead, our vision for the platform is threefold. First, we aim to enhance connecting people. Our goal is to bring individuals and organizations together through not only through this website, through other social media platforms, such as a WhatsApp group that some of you are already connected on, and LinkedIn, where we want to give people the correct platforms to share ideas and to collaborate. The website in the future, not at this time, will also act as an interactive hub where anyone can ask questions and engage in meaningful discussions. Second, we are working on building a professional registry. This will be a comprehensive database of professionals and organizations working towards SDG 12.3 in the Arab region. And this will allow stakeholders to easily connect with like-minded individuals. Finally, looking to the future, we are hoping to offer companies and other organizations the opportunity to post RFPs and job listings directly on this website. Okay. Now moving on from the professional registry, I'd like to talk about another important part of our commitment to promote SDG 12.3, which is to highlight innovative solutions across the Arab region. You can see these will fall under case studies, which are here in Arabic and English. We are actively encouraging professionals and organizations to submit their case studies. Our goal is to showcase the most effective practices and real-world successes happening right here in the Arab region. These case studies serve as dual purpose. Not only do they demonstrate what's working, but they also help us build a collective pool of knowledge that others can benefit from. So by sharing your experiences, you can contribute to resources that are relative and relevant to the area. Okay. So these are basically the forms. You would have forms for the submission. The forms, again, are available in both Arabic and English and can be filled out in either language. You would start with basic information, such as your name, the name of your organization, and email. The category of the project is also required. So we would categorize the project according to where it falls under the food loss and waste hierarchy, and also whether or not it's measurement of food loss or food waste. Okay. Since the case studies have been completed by individuals or organizations, we want them to highlight the important aspects of these case studies, which include the approach, the challenges faced, stakeholders, engaged, future plans, as in like, what's next? Okay, so you did this. What are your future plans? A picture of the project or other supporting documents can also be uploaded. And of course, then we will need the consent to publish onto the website. Okay. The submitted forms will be reviewed and approved. We want to emphasize that if information is missing or not relevant to SDG 12.3 or not in the region, then we will not approve it and it will not be published on the website. But also if information is missing and it is relevant to SDG 12.3 and in the region, we want to make sure that the email address that you put under contact information is valid, because we will reach out to you to gather any missing information and then so that we can publish the case study on the site. So once it's approved, it will be displayed on the case studies card page where all approved case studies can be viewed. Okay, this is how it would look like. So I mentioned earlier, gathering and sharing information is one of the main objectives of our network, but we have another reason for wanting to collect case studies. In the near future, we will be launching a campaign to highlight and celebrate 52 of the case studies throughout 1 year. The page will allow people to rate the case studies against a set criteria. This means that the final 52 case studies will be chosen by you, your friends, your network, and other stakeholders. The campaign will be designed to shine a light on the innovators leading the fight against food loss and waste in the Arab region and to celebrate their achievements. We believe this initiative is crucial because there's currently very little written material or promotion of successful efforts in tackling food loss and waste in the region in both Arabic, especially Arabic, and English. In gathering and showcasing these case studies, we aim to highlight the incredible work that's already been done, which can inspire and mobilize others to take action. Okay, so thank you. Those are the updates we have. I urge you all to join the WhatsApp group, which, okay, might not be as active, but I promise it will be a bit more active in the coming few months. And also, if you can fill out the online form for Become a Champion, just so you can, we can add your name to the registry, and just so we can get to know you better and your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dima. And with that, I'd like to open the floor for Q&A and comments as well, whether to Liz or to Dima. Please feel free to write in the chat or Q&A session. We have a question in Q&A. So Dia is asking, what's the difference between food loss and food waste? Who would like to answer this question? Liz?
I'll have a go at it first. So essentially food loss is back in the supply chain, and food waste is defined by all the UN organizations as being household, retail, and hospitality. And food loss is farm, post-farm, and in the supply chain and manufacturing. It's not a very clear definition because there is some you have to look at the individual products to decide exactly where the line is. But essentially, if you think about household, retail, and hospitality as being waste, and everything else is food loss.
Thank you, Liz. So any other questions, observations, suggestions for us at Thriving Solutions for the registry and the case studies? You can pose your questions in English or in Arabic. Both languages are fine.
I've just had Zeta. I do think it's really important that you get lots of case studies, as many as you can get. I mean, it's fantastic. You've got this idea to pull together a lot, because globally there are not enough case studies, and that's what people want. They want to be able to say, oh, they've done something, well, we could do something similar. So it's case studies is going to drive action for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we also wanted the case studies to be presented by the people themselves with their contact information, so people can also reach out to them, because sometimes you read a case study but you have no contact information, who to contact and inquire about. Okay, we have a question, which is, what are the solution besides composting that can be used? So yeah. Dima,
Well,
you want to answer this? Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
No, and the first thing is, can you avoid the waste being formed in the first place? So can you actually reduce at source? Because composting is a treatment and end of life. I'm sure Dr. Haytham will have some other comments on it as well, but there'll be other ways in which you can use stuff that ends up as waste. But let's try and find beside the backfire exactly. Yeah, try to avoid it in the first place.
We have, Adriana, if you go to the YouTube channel for Thriving Solutions, we've had past webinars on introduction to food loss and waste, in which we present the food loss and waste hierarchy, starting with, of course, prevention, then redistribution, then you have repurposing it for food, repurposing it for feed, which Dr. Haytham would be talking about. And then you go down on what goes as a circular economy, but not accounted as reduction, which is biochar, composting, and so on. So you'll find that in our past webinars. Maybe in the future also we will highlight that. So we have another question, which is, what kind of activities and meeting are you going to organize? And then we have, this is for you, Dima. And then we have a question, how are individual countries like UAE actually measuring their progress on their targets? And then a question whether there's enough interest from food service companies in the region. My experience is that the private sector is either not interested, nor are they aware of benefits. So these are the questions we have now. Dima, you want to get a go?
Okay, so I'll just start on the first one. What kind of activities and meetings are you going to organize? Well, it all depends on the network that we get. We want to see what the members want, and we will try to cater to that. We would like to do quarterly meetings. We will probably do them online, like this meeting, since we're trying to address things throughout the whole region. Once we get more case studies, we would have more people be able to present their case studies, like now Dr. Haytham is going to do. And honestly, if there's anything else anyone would like to suggest, then go ahead and send it to us, because we are definitely open to suggestions, and we just want we want it to be an easy place to network with other like-minded individuals. Okay, we want to empower people when it comes to SDG 12.3. And how are individual countries, UAE, such as the EU, actually measuring their progress on these targets? The UAE has recently launched a project with the NERMA and Emirates Foundation to measure food loss and food waste. And this will be running for maybe a year and a half. And yeah, I guess they're going to be using that information with the proper measurements for household and hospitality and different and food loss according to the FAO protocols and methodologies. And once they do that, then they'll have the proper information to report on their progress on these targets. And Seita, what was the last one? I can't see it. Just take it.
So we have a new question, and I'll just because some people are posting on chat, some on Q&A. So what it would be, the question is, would a specific ranking of Arab region companies in their loss reduction work? Why and why not? And if you can take that, and then I can go through the, okay, go ahead. And I wanted to add also, Dima, before you go ahead, you mentioned about UAE and NERMA. Yesterday, I was at an event in Jordan for food loss and waste reduction, and there are some initiatives there as well to try to quantify food waste and food loss. So the question, are you going to tackle regulations and bylaws as well? And yep, those are the additional two questions. If you want to address any, Dima.
Okay. So would a specific ranking of Arab region countries and their loss reduction work? Why or why not? I don't know. That's difficult to say. If companies report for their loss reduction, I guess if they're required to report and then have, you know, according to transparency, best management practices, then I'm assuming it would work. But honestly, I cannot. I can't tell you of whether or not it would work. I would assume that it would work if there was, just because if it was transparent and everyone knew about it, then they would want to reduce their food loss. But other than that, I'm not sure. I don't know, Seta, do you have experience in this one?
So I think in the region now, we're trying to get interest by companies to actually measure their food loss and waste. Because there's no interest. There are actually minimal requirements on environmental measurements in many of the countries. So there's no incentive for companies to measure. Like if we look at the experience in other countries the companies are doing measurement, that's after legal requirements or policies that mandated them to measure. So it would be difficult to do ranking before we actually have the enabling environment that prompts and encourages companies to do the measurement itself and report on it. Then you have the question if we're tackling regulations and bylaws. And now these tackling regulations and bylaws, we aim to raise awareness about the importance of regulations and bylaws as part of the Arab Champions advocacy. Then if specific countries are interested in our support to be able to help them to assess their current policy enabling environment and see how they can make it incentivize food loss and waste reduction, we're glad to do that. And then there's a new question is if we can share the information about the firm that is doing the food waste in Jordan. Because you want to approach them. It's المجلس الوطني للأمن الغذائي, the National Council for Food Security. So WFP and FAO are involved in the exercises. But I'd suggest you approach the National Council for Food Security in Jordan. So I see that the Q&A has a red, so we'll take the last set of questions before we move to Haytham. There's a question by Adrian. Are you planning on preparing documents for policy change? This seems to be the only way in the region, along with mandates to start any action. So Thriving Solutions as a company, we currently have an initiative where we're working with Tufts University. We would be launching before the end of the year a guideline to governments on best practices for food loss and waste reduction, which looks at the enabling environment for policy change, along with an assessment framework that could guide on the policy changes. As Arab Champions, we're looking to advocate for that need, but that also depends on the resources and the interest we get. Dima, you want to add anything on that before we? Okay. So now I'd like to welcome Dr. Haytham Riahi. Please, Haytham, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Let me start by sharing. I assume that you are seeing my screen now. If you don't, please let me know.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Thank you. So before starting, I wanted first to express my full support to Liz on saying that the first action that we should all do is preventing food waste. So what I will be presenting today would be a solution for the already food that was lost or wasted. So my name is Dr. Haytham Riahi. I'm the CEO and founder of Circa Biotech. At Circa Biotech, we are pioneering sustainability with insect farming. So maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but to give an idea about the extent of the food waste globally, 1/3 of the food produced globally is wasted. So this represents 1.3 billion tons of food waste globally. Here in the UAE, we are the 4th country per capita when it comes to food waste. There's an estimation by Veolia, the waste management company, that here in the UAE, we are throwing 3.5 million tons of food waste for a population of 10 million. Unfortunately, the major part of this food waste goes to landfills, where it is responsible for methane emissions. So methane is a greenhouse effect gas. It's 28 times more powerful than a CO2. But to give you an idea at the extent of that, so food waste emissions here in the UAE is equivalent to the transportation emissions. That means cars, trucks, and planes are emitting as much as food waste here in the UAE. On the other hand, we are facing problems of starvation all around the world. And by the growing population, it's estimated by the Food and Agriculture Organization that we will be lacking 200 million tons of protein by the year 2050. So today, what is the status of food waste? How we are treating our food waste today in 2024? Actually, today there's only 3 ways to do. First is landfills, as we said, like with all the environmental problems, ethical problems, and pollution problems. Second is incineration. So incineration, it's even worse than landfill when it comes to the impact on the environment, with more toxic particles in the air, responsible for acid rains, for example. And this is an installation that is CapEx intensive, that requires a lot of investments. And third, which looks like the best solution, is what we call waste to energy. So those are factories that are transforming our waste, organic waste mainly, into methane. So through fermentation or through incineration, and this generate electricity that is pumped back to the grid. However, with the waste to energy solution, first, as incineration, it's capex intensive. It's very expensive to set a factory like that, and secondly, it's commercially not viable. So without the subsidies of states or municipality, the waste to energy is not a solution that could be a profitable venture. In addition, it's very difficult to scale up the volume that we need to treat with those solutions. So These are in 2024 the three solution to food waste and organic waste in general. So as a scientist, as a biologist, when we face a problem and try to find a solution, we always turn into nature. So if you imagine with me a forest that is not touched by man. In a forest, there is no waste, even though there is animals, trees. So if you think about a dead animal in a forest, what happened to this animal? So the first thing that happened to this animal is it got eaten by insects. Then those insects are by themselves eaten by other animals like birds or reptiles or even fish. So the nature goes in cycles, and this is how nature is recycling its waste. So could we harvest or could we harness mainly the power of insects in order to treat our waste like the nature is treating its own waste? And this is what we did at Circa Biotech. So we selected an insect. It's called the black soldier fly. We selected it for its properties. So it is a non-invasive species. It's a non-pest. It doesn't. It's not vector to any disease harming men, animals, or vegetation. It's a voracious eater. It eats any organic waste, specifically food waste. It has a short life cycle, so this is useful for industrialization. And it has a high nutritional profile in protein and lipids. This what help us to turn it into animal feed. So how we do that? In our facility, we receive food waste. So this food waste, we process it and we feed it to our insect. 15 tons a day of food waste. So after 10 days, they eat the totality of this food waste and they grow 500 times their initial weight. To give you an idea what 500 times looks like, it's like for a human baby growing as big as a fully grown African elephant in 10 days. So once they reach the size that we want, we harvest those insects by sieving them. So we recover the larvae of the insect and their frass is recovered as organic fertilizer. What we do with the larvae, we press them, and this gives us insect protein and insect fat. So the insect protein we turned into animal feed, specifically into feed for chicken and fish, because those are naturally animals that are eating insects. And for the fat, we turned into sustainable fuel. Actually, we turned into jet fuel, if you want, but this could be the subject of another presentation. So here in the UAE, we started with a pilot facility that was able to treat 950 tons a year. It's a fully licensed activity right now. We signed MOUs with the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, with waste providers and protein off-takers. And we had a first pilot with a green field for animal feed. This is a chicken mill manufacturer. So this is a manufacturer of animal feed. We are now scaling up to a new facility, 1,600 square meter. We are finalizing a second commercial pilot with Fujairah Research Center for manufacturing fish feed. And we are in discussion with a carbon offset platform for a potential 35,000 tons of CO2 equivalent per year. In the future, we wanted to replicate those facilities in different areas of the UAE and beyond the UAE, of course. So I wanted here to highlight some of the testimonials that we had, and after I would take a specific case study that shows the impact of what we are doing. So this is a testimonial. I think it's like too small. Even me, I cannot read it. I'm sorry for that. I can share after. So these are the animal feed manufacturers. So they are part of a group here in the UAE called a Rauda Group. So the advantage of those group of companies that they are having chicken operation and they are having animal feed manufacturing. So they were able to test in real time the impact of substituting other protein with insect protein on the animal feed, and it shows great results in terms of growth, health of the animals, and even in the taste of the meat. We had a second testimonial also that was made with Emirates Biofarm, and I specifically like this trial that we did with Emirates Biofarm because it's the I would say a true illustration of what we call circular economy. So Emirates Biofarm is an agriculture farm here in the UAE, in the middle of the desert. That's like something very beautiful. They have several crops that they are cultivating, but they are having also 20,000 chicken, layer chicken for producing eggs. So what we did with them is we took their agriculture waste, feed it to our larvae, then harvest the larvae and transform them into animal feed for the chicken that they are having. So it's a complete cycle that was farm, and it's shown like a very, very good result on the size of the eggs, the caliber, the shell was stronger, so there was less over 85% less loss in the eggs during the transportation and the collection, and there was also even over 15% of economical gain using insect farming to transform their waste into animal feed. But what I wanted to show more is the last one. So this is a press release that was made more than a month ago. So here in the UAE, we have what we call the organization called ADAFTA, Abu Dhabi Agriculture and Food Safety Authority. This is a little bit the equivalent of the American FDA. And we had a strategic partnership with ADAFTA and the retailer Spinneys. So it was a three-party agreement between Circa Biotech, ADAFTA, and Spinneys. And we made a 6-month trial with all Spinneys outlets. And with this partnership, we were able to divert 54% of Spinneys food waste from landfills, which is honestly for me was beyond what we expected. It's a very, very good result for us, and this gives us more strength to propose this solution to other retailers in order to divert their food waste from landfills. So more than this, I think these are some of the social impacts that were observed with our work now for years in the UAE. So we were able to produce locally animal feed that is until today almost 90% imported. We have a unique processing technologies that is enabling a more sustainable treatment and more efficient treatment of our food waste. It's a modular solution that could be deployed. We are developing local capabilities in partnership with Khalifa University and the UAE University in order to develop local professional in insect farming and sustainable agriculture practices. We are working with ADNOC in order to develop R&D project for new application of our larvae oil in oil and gas operation. And of course, with the climate change impact, where we are able, by diverting food waste from the landfill, to reduce methane emissions here in the UAE. So this is the team. We are also having advisors working with us. They are experts in sustainability with a hands-on experience here in the region. And of course, our action is at the heart of the SDGs. We are not only working on the 12.3 with the food waste prevention, but we are also working on life below water and climate action, and also industrial innovation and infrastructure. So this is very briefly what we achieved in 4 years, specifically on the part of diverting food waste from the landfills and promoting the use of animal feed that are highly nutritious coming from insect farming. Think we'll stop here. Thank you very much for your time. And please, if you have any question, I'm here to answer your questions.
Thank you, Haytham, for a very enlightening presentation. So we do have some questions in the chat box. So one is there any companies collecting food waste? In the UAE, there are companies collecting food waste. The question is if there are examples of household collection in other Arab countries. To be honest, I do not know of any, but that's part of why we are launching the success stories, capturing case studies, because we want to know if any of you are aware, because we do have participants from different regions. Please put it in the chat box so that we can learn from that and the participants can learn from that. Haytham, are you aware of any household collection?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, please. Yep.
Currently, it's not possible because simply there is no separation of waste. So if even you are segregating your waste and putting only the food waste by yourself, it will be collected with the other solid waste. So we are working, and this is one of the problems that we faced, for example, working with Pini, because they work with those waste management companies and they are not equipped for that. So we are working with the Court of Presidential Affairs and with the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment hardly in order to bring a new law that will mandate the segregation of the food waste. So something very specific to our region, if you take food waste in European countries, for example, most of the food waste is coming from households and restaurants and hotels, hospitality. Here, most of our food waste is coming from retailers and industry because we are importing massively. We are importing 85% of our food. So the idea is to start with those, with industrial and retails, to segregate the waste. And then once it's done, it will be possible to have a special circuit, a special route for those. Sorry for a very long answer, but it's a quite complicated issue currently.
I also want to thank all of those participants that are answering in the chat box about experiences in their country. one thing before we move, Haytham, to the other question for you, when we're talking about household waste, we also need to be careful that this is organic waste is considered human contaminated waste. So depending on policies and regulations and safety requirements, there is only so much that you can do with household organic waste in terms of valorizing it. So Haytham, the other question for you is, where do you get the food waste from?
Yeah, so as you said, Seta, we work with what we call pre-consumer food waste. So we get our waste from agriculture farms, from food retailers like Carrefour, Spinneys, all of those for the moment, and then we can extend. If I can do some advertising for other colleagues, so in the UAE we work as an ecosystem. There's other companies like Ehfad, Here We Go, like the Waste Lab, that they are having other solution that could be implemented, and they can work with domestic waste. So the food lab, the lab waste, sorry, are composting, and they can work with household waste. Ahfaz, they are having a solution that is sterilizing the waste also, like and can work with households waste. So these what I have top of mind. I'm sure there's others.
So we have also an observation here that from Fatma, that in Kuwait there are projects where the public can benefit from the treatment of landfills by harnessing the potential of energy embedded in landfill gas emission. And there's the example of Al Qurain. So waste to energy is on the food loss and waste hierarchy pyramid, Fatma, and it's a good option to valorize waste, organic waste, that we can valorize it in another way. But according to the international standard and protocol, waste to energy is categorized like landfill or just above landfill, for instance, under EPA. So although it is encouraged for waste, organic waste that's contaminated, that you cannot utilize for other measures economically, it should be the last resort in terms of valorization. Then there is a question on segregating. There is an observation that there have been articles highlighting that waste segregation is happening in Qatar, where waste is transformed to compost. Thank you for that, Lina. Nerma does a collection in the UAE, and then we have a suggestion that awareness raising is very important really to effectively reduce food waste in the Arab region. And we should raise awareness at the regional, national, local levels, looking also at the impacts. This is something that we're aiming for. We have been advocating and trying to fundraise to look at which companies in the region and governments will be interested in sponsoring and supporting us with such campaigns. If you are interested or know of an entity that may be interested, we would appreciate if you can link us to them. Then we have a thank you note. Yep, I don't think we have any other question. Thank you very much for everyone who attended this session. It was our pleasure to host you with us. Thank you, Haytham. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Dima, for the presentations. And we look forward to our future events. We also look forward to you joining our WhatsApp group. And of course, we really look forward to professionals and organizations in the region registering, so that we can really have this formalized networks to connect you with each other and provide you with a platform where you can actually integrate, ask questions, open the door for collaboration amongst you. And also, if you know of any successful case studies. If you have case studies from the region, be it on successful measurement, be it on successful valorization, please submit your case studies so we can learn, all of us and all the region can learn from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.